Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment of Health Professional Radio. We'll be speaking with Dr. Mike Krams. He's joining us here from Exscientia to talk about the first human clinical trial of AI-designed therapy for renal cell carcinoma and non-small cell lung cancer. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Mike Krams.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, I mentioned that you're joining us here from Exscientia. Give us a bit of your professional background briefly and talk about your role there.
Yes, I'm the Chief Quantitative Medicine Officer at Exscientia. I am a medic by background. I have been in pharmaceutical R&D for 25 years. Before joining Exscientia, I was at Janssen R&D, leading a group of 500 statisticians, pharmacologists, and modelers, a group called Quantitative Sciences, and I'm applying the same principle in Exscientia framework. Exscientia is a artificial intelligence-centered drug discovery and development company with a big ambition. Exscientia is a precision medicine company, and it's applying artificial intelligence all the way from designing molecules to bringing them to patients such that the specific problem a patient comes with has a tailored answer. We're aiming, this is an ambition, it's unclear whether it's achievable, but we're aiming for 100% response rates. And we're asking ourselves, how do we get there? And the answer to it is we're developing investigational compounds on one hand, but at the same time, we are putting major emphasis on creating biomarker efforts where the biomarker fingerprint allows us to identify patients that are particularly likely to benefit from the treatments that we develop. So you can think of it as a two-pronged approach. One is to develop new compounds, and the other one is to develop new ways of identifying the right patients for the right treatments.
These AI-designed therapies, one of which is, I understand, Ignite AI. What is this, the Ignite AI study, and what are Exscientia's goals for conducting it? Talk about any future plans to expand research to other tumor types, if possible.
So Ignite AI is our first patient study in our A2A receptor antagonist. In tumors such as renal cell carcinoma and non-small cell lung cancer, some of those patients might benefit from checkpoint inhibitors. But as it happens, not everybody responds to checkpoint inhibitors, and even those patients who initially respond might have a situation where the level of adenosine that is going up in the tumor microenvironment is so high that it's ultimately dampening the immune system's response and making it harder for the checkpoint inhibitor to do its job. And so the idea behind the Ignite AI study is to modulate the levels of adenosine through A2A antagonism and reigniting the immune system's ability to allow the checkpoint inhibitor to do its job. So in that context, what we're doing is to establish initially the safety profile of our compound in a phase 1/2 study, where the initial aspect is a dose escalation study. So it's asking the question, up to what level can we take the investigational compound, the A2A receptor antagonist, in a way that is safe and well tolerated in patients. Once we have established a maximal tolerated dose, we will switch into a second phase of that phase 1/2 study, a dose expansion cohort. And in that phase, we're going to ask whether the appropriate dose and treatment regimen can translate into benefit to patients. The unique aspect of this trial is that while we are learning about the compound properties, we are also learning about how to identify patients who are most likely to benefit. So we have a biomarker signature that we're very interested in, and we are trying to establish how much confidence we can have in that biomarker signature to identify the right patients for this treatment. The other unique aspect of this trial is that it has been created using the principles of model-informed drug development. The experimental design is based on extensive simulations under many different assumptions and circumstances to allow us to fine-tune the design, we're using a continuous reassessment method to allow for very efficient escalation of doses, and we are modeling the response of patients in terms of their safety response in real time. The minute that we have sufficient confidence that we understand the safety profile of the compound, we'll dynamically switch into the dose expansion trial. So 3 really unique aspects. The first, it's our first artificial intelligence designed molecule that we're now taking into patients. The second, we're using it in conjunction with an effort to learn about a biomarker signature. And the third, it's been designed based on principles of model-informed drug development.
What would you say is the biggest unmet patient need that this study aims to address? Would it be the need to identify the patients because so many are, living with these two conditions unidentified with obvious outcomes? Would it be the safety or the overall patient experience using these compounds?
The biggest unmet need is the low response rate that is currently experienced when we apply A2A receptor antagonists in these types of tumors. They are nowhere near the 100% that we aim for. And I'm not arguing that we will achieve 100%, but what we will achieve is an approximation to higher response rates by putting equal emphasis on qualifying a biomarker signature and learning about the compound properties. And so our goal is to allow patients to benefit to a much higher degree than is currently the case by learning how to choose the right patients for this type of treatment.
Do you believe that this study will change the way that clinical trials and drug development are done overall, not just AI generated? And if so, when do you think we'll see an impact on the industry and therefore patients?
So model-informed drug development is the way to develop drugs. And we're not the only ones to apply it, but we want to lead by example and want to indeed attract the applicability of this principle more broadly. So the paradigm that I've described to you will be what we will apply to all other programs coming through our pipeline. And in doing so, we are hoping to gain some attention around the benefits of trying to be a matchmaker between the patient needs, the ability to identify the right patients, and then identifying the solution for the right patients.
Well, if you would, give us a website where our listeners can learn more.
So the Exscientia.ai web page contains some information about the background to the company. And so I'd recommend that you have a look at that. Beyond that, we will make sure that any publications that are coming out will be quoted there.
And that website is www.exscientia.ai. Mike, I appreciate you joining us here on Health Professional Radio. Hopefully you'll return.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Mike Krams. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.